Joining me now, Congressman Thomas Massie from the great Commonwealth of Kentucky. Congressman, good to have you with us. And let's just cut right to it. I want you to explain why you are a no vote on the big, beautiful bill.
Well, it spends way too much money. Look, I'm for the tax cuts, extending those tax cuts. I voted for those in 2017. Here's the problem. We're cutting more taxes and we're increasing spending. And to the extent they say we're cutting spending, that doesn't happen in these first few years. They're saying we'll do that in the later years. The problem is the later years never come. It should be T-ball to repeal the Green New Deal, but we're not repealing the Green New Deal in this. The corporate tax subsidies stay in place for at least 4 more years. There's so many problems with this bill that I'm not part of one of those factions you talked about in the intro here. I'm kind of a guy on my own standing up for fiscal responsibility.
You know, Congressman, President Trump had some very unkind things to say about you earlier today. How do you respond to the president's remarks?
Well, I think he was surprised that I came to the meeting today. You know, maybe he thought I would hide, but he asked if I was in the meeting and I raised my hand. He did give me a compliment. He says my hair is very similar to Rand Paul's, except mine is better than Rand Paul's. So things weren't as there wasn't as much vitriol in the room after the comments that you saw in the press. He also conceded that I may be kind of smart because I went to MIT, although he reminded us his uncle went to MIT, so he has good genetics. The meeting itself was different than the conversation outside of the room.
So I completely understand where you're coming from on this. I am a fiscal conservative, and I think honestly that's the only thing we have going for us right now as Republicans. But politics is about compromise, and I'm wondering, is there any version of the bill that you would support? What do the Republicans have to do to get you on board here?
Well, look, just do a clean extension of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017, repeal the Green New Deal, all of it, root and branch to pay for it, and put real work requirements for able-bodied individuals on Medicaid. That's an 80-20 issue, probably a 95-5 issue. That's all you need to do. You don't need these bailouts for blue state governors where they get their SALT tax, deduction. And if you would do this, Todd, you wouldn't have the problem that we're seeing already, which is Moody's downgraded our bond rating Friday. Yesterday, the markets responded. We're now going to pay 5% interest on 30-year Treasury notes. This isn't your mortgage rate. This is what the U.S. government has to pay to finance not the new debt that's going to come from this bill, but the old debt. So if we would incorporate a semblance of fiscal responsibility in the big, giant, great, wonderful bill, I could be for it. But we're going to blow the budget. Our bond rating's going to go to hell in a handbasket, and we're going to be paying a lot of interest on the debt that already exists while we rack up more debt.
Okay, I want to throw this out. I want to throw this out there for you, Congressman. Look, President Trump, he won with the mandate. I don't think the Congress got a mandate in the last election, but the president did. So why not just give it a shot? I mean, one way or the other, if it works, that's fantastic. If they get screwed, you could say, you know what, I tried to tell you guys.
Well, that's one approach, but I was elected in a district to represent 750,000 people from Kentucky. Somebody who's not my district said, get out of the way. We want what we voted for. And I'm trying to remind the public, you didn't vote for Biden-level spending and increased deficits. This is not the mandate that he had, was not to blow the budget. And it's not what I was sent here to do. So, I mean, I'm for tax cuts, but I'm not going to stand here and have people say that 2 + 2 = 5. It doesn't equal 5. It equals 4. I stood alone on the 2020 CARES Act when I opposed printing $5 trillion and $2 trillion stimulus packages, and that's before Biden got in office. I stood alone then. I said it would cause inflation and shortages. It did. If I have to stand alone, I will now, because I'm not going to lie about what this bill's going to do to you.
All right. Well, Congressman, we're going to have to leave it there. I will say this. I do agree with President Trump about you. You got good hair, Congressman. So there you go.
Hey, thanks.
Common ground.
Thanks, Todd. He said it was better than Rand Paul's, which is a low bar.
Oh, well, there you go. All right, Congressman, thank you again.
I'll take it as a compliment.
All right, folks.